Welcome back. President Trump taking aim at FUD Governor Lisa Cook this morning, calling on her to resign following accusations of mortgage fraud by our next guest, who's seeking an investigation by the Department of Justice. Cook was appointed by former President Biden. She's been serving a term that ends in 2038. And joining us now in a first on CNBC interview is...
It's just the elite and wealthy class and the politician class who's
But is it grounds for firing at the Fed?
Of course. If you commit a crime and you have a reasonable suspicion that somebody's committing a crime, that is cause. I mean, I don't know what cause is if that's not cause. I mean, this lady, I don't understand how she can be in charge of setting interest rates for our country, and here she is potentially lying on her applications to get better interest rates. Like, you know, we have a huge economy. Why are we letting somebody like this do this? She needs to explain herself, but unfortunately, it's in black and white, and I don't think it's going away. And to be honest, I think she needs to resign quickly. You know, I say these things about Powell needing to resign and everything on the political side. This is very different, okay? This is black and white.
Well, I'm glad you clarified that. No, because you have called for Powell to resign because you don't like interest rates as high as they are, and that's a very different thing.
That's correct, and I also have some issues with the building, but those are policy issues, okay? I'm putting my regulator hat on today. I've never accused Jay Powell of something like this. I'm sitting here and I'm saying to you that if you look at the mortgage documents, you see what I see. And you know what? I'll tell you this. Jay Powell, he has a chance to do the right thing by the law. I mean, this is just, you know, this is common sense what he needs to do here. But, you know, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because I don't know. Did he know about this? I have a hard time believing he...
Want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Hey. Why this beat so cold?
We will make America proud again. When you try to we will make America wealthy again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
Oh, this is good. That Trump walked in there and said, that heifer got to resign right now. Yeah, let's walk that heifer out. Let's do it. Let's do it. Breaking news. Trump federal housing director Bill Barr officially refers them-appointed Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook to the DOJ for mortgage fraud. Oh, I told y'all, when it comes to these Democrats, it's always something. Somebody didn't lie. Biggest scandals, the biggest fraud. Yeah, I told you. When it come down to the applications, you know, people got 15, 18 properties with primary residence. How does that work? Look, I'm just saying. Somebody got the money over here, the money over there. Somebody going to the bank. The money was supposed to go over here. Somehow that person got it. What the hell they did with it? Went out and bought a new house, a new car, new purse. You know, I tell you, man. I tell you, man. You just can't make this up. I know I come on here cracking jokes and saying all kind of crazy stuff, but honestly, y'all, you just can't make this up, man. But it says she could be forced into resigning if it devolves, potentially open another Trump appointment. President Trump demands the resignation of Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook after being criminally referred to the DOJ for mortgage fraud. You just can't make this up. But she was also caught in 2024 for plagiarizing her academic research on how popular certain names were in the black community. Lisa Cook is a Biden appointee and Jerome Powell loyalist. Oh man, they need to walk his butt out, but they say we can't walk him out because everything will burn and crash. And you know, they're waiting to blame everything on the big bad orange man. She has voted about 100% of the time. You know, I tell you. Interest rates sky high. And look, these are the ones, I'm telling you, some of the biggest frauds. And we catch them every single time. These Democrats. You just can't make this up, man. You just can't. What y'all think, family? Let me know in the comment section. But I hope everybody that's tuned in right now that you are having an amazing week. Happy Wednesday. We getting through the week, family. It's almost Friday. It's almost the weekend. Shout out to them hardworking patriots around the world. Hope y'all are doing well, man, that you are blessed, well, and healthy. I know y'all getting back in the rhythm of things. You know, school back in, summer's ending. You know, we are rocking and rolling, man. Time is going by faster than you know it. Do not take time for granted, man. Continue to spread love. Continue to be a great human being. It does not take much, man. Keep spreading that love, y'all. God is love. And we are rooting for President Trump, this administration, praying for America, praying for President Trump, praying for peace right now as Trump is making his magic work and doing what Trump do. You know, the best president of our lifetime, my lifetime, the greatest president, especially the route that he's headed right now, and especially in these last 8 months of his second term. Whew. Yes, sir. You know, I said 6 months. My other show, they were like, Rick, get it right. It's 8 months. I said, well, he got inaugurated on. So if you do the calculations, it's really like 7 months or 8 months. I said, oh hell. All right, but let's get into this. Oh hell, this CNBC. Look, CNBC. They've been calling these Democrats out, and they were reporting hasn't been too bad lately. When I say lately, I mean like the last week and a half, 2 weeks. You know, we've seen they brought on tons of Democrats and held their feet to the fire, which I loved. You know, especially the Democrat leader. All these, he up there wiping off that Diddy all on his forehead. I tell you, what a disgrace. Let's get into this though.
Welcome back. President Trump taking aim at FUD Governor Lisa Cook this morning, calling on her to resign following accusations of mortgage fraud by our next guest, who is seeking an investigation by the Department of Justice. Cook was appointed by former President Biden. She's been serving a term that ends in 2038. And joining us now in a First on CNBC interview is Bill Pulte, director of the Federal Housing Finance Agency.
Biden, auto pen, DEI appointees, I tell you, walk that heifer out.
Director Pulte, it's good to have you. So what have you found? What have you dug up on Governor Cook?
Well, I don't know if it's as much digging up as much as it is doing our job. We refer people every day criminally for mortgage fraud, and no one is above the law. And in this case, it happens to be a Fed governor, and I have an obligation to do something about it. So when we received a tip,
beautiful. Man, that sounds so good. No one is above the law because they think they're above it. Yeah, they think they're better than everybody. You know, nothing applies to them. You know, we just seen a lady get arrested, the Democrat attorney general. She says, I'm an AG. I'm an AG. Y'all seen that crap? I mean, man, what the hell wrong with y'all Democrats? And this is why on my channel, on my show, we are advocating for y'all butt to be made an example out of, for y'all butt to be walked out in handcuffs, for y'all to be put your hands behind your back. You got to do it.
This is what we discovered, and it's very unfortunate because, you know, a Fed governor is supposed to understand economic harm of mortgage fraud. You know, the Fed has written all about the economic harm of mortgage fraud, in particular occupancy fraud, and here she is allegedly committing mortgage fraud. So I think it's a big issue. I don't think it's going away. I think she will have to resign, or I think she will be fired.
What are the allegations? Like, what do you claim that she has done that constitutes mortgage fraud?
We allege that she bought a condo in July of 2021, and 14 days before that, we allege that she took out a loan using a Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac form, stating that she had her primary residence in Michigan. 14 days later, as I said, she went and purchased an Atlanta condo. To make it worse, she then went on to eventually list the apartment and probably is renting it out. This is a very serious issue. It has necessarily nothing to do with the Fed governor. It has everything to do with mortgage fraud in the United States. And if we see it, we're going to do something about it. Just on that point, too, I'll say we're also probing, and I would imagine that the Department of Justice will open an inquiry into this. I'm hopeful about that. But we're also probing some property that she has in Massachusetts to see if there's something there, but I don't have anything yet on that. Okay. And I only want to stick with what's in the criminal referral so far.
And in that referral, so basically it sounds like the claim or the allegation is that she claimed primary residence on two different places at the same time?
That's correct. You cannot do that in America.
And what does that get? Does that get you preferential mortgage rates?
Yes, when you have a primary residence or a principal residence, it is essentially lower risk. And so what we do at both Fannie and Freddie and our member institutions who we buy loans from and we mandate from is we want to understand the risk. If you are living in your home, it is less likely that you will be foreclosed upon or not pay your payments in the event of a recession. We saw this in '08. In my view, many of this is what caused '08. You know, my family founded Pulte Homes. I grew up in that business. I saw the housing market crash. We cannot go back there. So it doesn't matter whether you're Fed Governor Cook or Joe Blow on the street. If you commit mortgage fraud, we are going to report it. And this is no different. We do it every day.
Bill, what do you make of this notion that
and imagine if this was reversed. Imagine if this was a Republican. Yeah, this is why we advocating for y'all to be held accountable. Because if this was a Republican, I tell you, man, feet would be to the fire. People be all screaming to the top of their lungs, calling for somebody to be arrested. You know, this was definitely a Republican, and we see how y'all did Trump. You know, lock Big Gravy James up. Big Tish James, Big Gravy James, lock that heifer up. Adam Shifty Schiff, all these Democrats, all this fraud. I tell you, man.
allegations of mortgage fraud have become sort of political fodder? The allegations against Adam Schiff, Letitia James. AP had a report in July that Texas AG Paxton cited 3 homes as primary. I mean, how broad are you willing to use this tool?
We will look at any allegation of mortgage fraud, and we do not care whether you're a Republican, a Democrat. We do not care whether you're wealthy. We don't care whether you're a prosecutor. We don't care whether you're a Fed governor. If you commit mortgage fraud and you present an existential threat to the federal home loan banks, Fannie or Freddie, we are going to prosecute it, period.
Is it common for these things not to get referred back to the OIG? I mean, how does it wind up on your desk, much less the social media account of the president?
Well, what do you mean, how does it end up on my desk? I'm the regulator of Fannie and Freddie, and I'm the conservator of Fannie and Freddie. If it didn't end up on my desk, I wouldn't be doing my job, Carl. I mean, that's like asking how do news stories appear on your desk? That's your job. My job is to regulate these entities, Carl, and we have to make sure that we have a safe and sound market. And I'm not going to be intimidated by the media or politicians who don't want visibility into what's been going on behind closed doors. If somebody is claiming 2 primary residences... Talk
your shit, Bill. The hell with the fake news media. Yeah! That's how I'm feeling. That's how we feel. That's how them Patriots feeling in 2025. The hell with the media. People got to be held accountable. Sick of all this. I got to see presidential mugshots, people screaming to the top of their lungs, saying he did this, he did that. He needs to be held accountable. He needs to be put in jail, prison. No one is above the law. The hell with the fake news media. The hell with these Democrats walking around free, smiling. Same ones screaming to the top of their lungs. Same ones, the loudest ones, and be the guiltiest ones. And they the one committing all the fraud, involved in some of the biggest scandals.
That is not appropriate, and we will refer it for criminal investigation.
Are there other cases like this that are pending that you're aware of that you'll be making public soon?
Of course. I mean, we have ongoing cases all the time. I just got 2 yesterday afternoon that we're going to be referring to the DOJ. We refer people almost every day to the Department of Justice. This is not new. And I'll tell you one thing, Carl. You ask how it covers my desk, cross my desk. I think a lot of people look the other way when stuff would cross their desk. It doesn't matter who you are. If it comes across our desk and we see it, we're going to look at it. And when we opened up a tip line, Carl, the floodgates opened. And I'm sorry to say for politicians, but politicians, unfortunately, sometimes think that they're above the law. And
Facts.
No one is above the law.
No one's above the law.
Politicians doing it, they're going to get treated just like everybody else. I mean, Carl, the DOJ often prosecutes people for this very crime.
Yeah. We should note that...
He talking to Carl like that on CNBC because... Hopefully, because sometimes with these news hosts, the fake news media, it goes in through one ear and out the other. That's why he talking like that. We appreciate you, Bill. You know, I don't know what side Bill stands on. I don't care, but right is right, wrong is wrong, and Bill is right.
We've reached out to the Fed numerous times. They haven't gotten a response yet. I imagine that they're in fact-finding mission here when it comes to what's going on, but. Director Pulte, you can't ignore the fact that you have been a very aggressive critic of the Federal Reserve, and clearly so has the president, and he does have a policy agenda here.
Well, we can talk about policy and politics on a separate matter, but as it pertains to the regulation side of things, that's where my focus is as it pertains to that. If you want to talk about politics and interest rates, we can do that. But this, to me, is a very clear case, in my view, of mortgage fraud. It's just black and white. It's their signatures. I sent it to you guys and your producers. I understand you didn't want to put it up, but anybody can go look at these public documents. Washtenaw County, Michigan.
I love how he's actually calling out and exposing the fake news media. They don't ever want to put it up, but it's all going to come out. What's done in the dark is going to shine in the light. And what this administration is doing, we rooting for y'all, but to be walked out. No one is above the law, man.
Fulton County, Georgia, they're there. People can see it. And in fact, our referral letter is based on publicly available information. So, there's no funny business here. This is straightforward stuff. And if you commit mortgage fraud, especially in black and white, you will be prosecuted.
And just to be clear, we just wanted to verify all the documents before putting them on the screen, but we definitely wanted to talk to you about it. So is there any precedent for this and what it would, if found to be true? And again, it's just allegations at this point.
Yes, this stuff is prosecuted every day. It's just the elite and wealthy class and the politician class who's
But is it grounds for firing at the Fed?
Of course. If you commit a crime, and you have a reasonable suspicion that somebody's committing a crime, that is cause. I mean, I don't know what cause is if that's not cause. I mean, this lady, I don't understand how she can be in charge of setting interest rates for our country, and here she is potentially lying on her applications to get better interest rates. Like, we have a huge economy.
Man.
Why are we letting somebody like this do this? She needs to explain herself, but unfortunately, it's in black and white, and I don't think it's going away. And to be honest, I think she needs to resign quickly. I say these things about Powell needing to resign and everything on the political side. This is very different, okay? This is black and white.
Well, I'm glad you clarified that. No, because you have called for Powell to resign because you don't like interest rates as high as they are. And that's
high as hell. Nobody like it. We think his butt ought to be walked out. Yeah, you got doggone right. Them Patriots is sick and tired. I'm sick and tired. High as hell. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous what's going on in this country with these interest rates and everything. I tell you. And then everybody want to play the blame game. And then for some reason, it's all Trump's fault. It's the big bad orange man's fault. I tell you. Walk his butt out. And our president going to pull out the receipts on his butt.
Very different thing.
That's correct, and I also have some issues with the building, but those are policy issues, okay? I'm putting my regulator hat on today. I've never accused Jay Powell of something like this. I'm sitting here and I'm saying to you that if you look at the mortgage documents, you see what I see. And you know what? I'll tell you this. Jay Powell, he has a chance to do the right thing by the law. I mean, this is just, this is common sense what he needs to do here. But, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because I don't know. Did he know about this? I have a hard time believing he did. But we'll see what happens.
It would be hard to believe that he would know about, the mortgages and what Lisa Cook claimed on mortgages.
What you're saying, Director Pulte, is that what you're saying is that if she were a dovish dissenter, if she were pushing the committee to cut rates, you would still be coming on our program to demand her resignation?
I didn't say any of that. You're saying.
What the hell would see? I tell y'all, I was just giving y'all a little bit of love for how y'all been lately. With these Democrats coming up on the show, and then y'all go right back to the same crap. That's why the people don't. That's why we hate the media so much. That's why CNBC, NBC, CNN, MS, all y'all with the alphabet, these letters and stuff. That's why. This is why. That man did not say that. They ought to walk Carl off set.
That and trying to twist it into some political thing.
I mean, you see how they twist stuff? This is in real time. You can't make this up.
I'm telling you, as far as I know, she is dovish. So I don't really understand what your argument is. My argument is very simple. There can be no mortgage fraud. This came across our desk. I have a duty to report it.
No one is above the law.
Don't you want your mortgage regulator to report it, no matter who it is?
Do you have any indication from the Department of Justice? I know you sent the letter to. Pam Bondi, that there is going to be an investigation here?
Well, I don't want to comment on any specific conversations I've had with the DOJ, but I do know that Pam Bondi has done a great job at taking mortgage fraud seriously across a host of issues. You know, one of the things that I did, one of the reasons that we fired many of the board members when we came into Fannie and Freddie was we found a lot of multifamily fraud on the books. And, you know, we've had to clean that up, and we're still in the process of cleaning that up. And so I have you know, been a very big fan of whether it's residential mortgage fraud like we're talking about today or multifamily fraud. This stuff has got to get the heck out of the system. And frankly, you know, we talk about this potential IPO or potentially selling shares one day. You know, we need to make sure that we have strong and sound businesses if and when we go to do that. And so, you know, these are part and parcel together. It's a safety and soundness thing, but it's also in the business interest of the companies to make sure that fraud is not there.
What is the penalty for if there was any evidence of fraud here? What would be the penalty for something like this, the claiming primary residence on 2 places?
Well, I would refer you to the DOJ's website because they have many precedents for this. I would say that Marilyn Mosby, you may have seen that. People may recall she was the prosecutor in Maryland. She was prosecuted and convicted of mortgage fraud, lying on her mortgage applications, I believe. And so, you know, you have high-profile cases like this all the time. You know, when this came across my desk, I said, oh, you know, people are going to think this, that, or the other thing. Well, it doesn't really matter. If she did this, she did this. We have an obligation to report it. And it wouldn't matter whether, you know, she was a Republican or Democrat. It's
Amen.
What it is.
No one's above the law.
Still, you have to admit that you'd be probably happy to see the president get yet another pick for a new governor, if this is where all this goes on the Federal Reserve in the quest to lower interest rates.
I mean, if you want to put my policy hat on, I'd be happy if we had a different chair. I don't know how or what or if this moves the needle.
Hell, we'll all be happy.
Again, this matter as it pertains to this is how can we have somebody in this type of position committing mortgage fraud, allegedly. And I would say one thing, too. You know, you said about how did Jay Powell not know. You know, this is not really that hard. If you look at her personal financial disclosures, which are disclosed, all of us have to do through the executive branch, you know, she lists on there that it appears anyway, and, you know, we'll figure this out, and the DOJ will have to look into this, that she's listing this property as her personal residence even today, like meaning in 2025 or whenever she last did it, 2023, whenever her last disclosure was.
The one in Ann Arbor?
The one in Atlanta. And then she went on to list it for rent. So, you know, there's a lot of questions here, and that's why I'm saying for the sake of the country, she should just resign. And I do think this is a very different situation than, you know, the chair. I really do believe that.
Yeah, well, clearly you're making that distinction. Look, we are waiting to hear any word from the Federal Reserve, from Fed Governor Lisa Cook. They're in Jackson Hole, Wyoming this week, where we are anticipating a speech from Fed Chair Powell on interest rates. Director Pulte, thank you very much for joining us to highlight some of what you found. Really appreciate the comments. Bill.
The hell with CNBC. No one's above the law. Walk that heifer out.